NFL officially dropped the schedule last night. Now, there was some leaks throughout the day, but ultimately I wait for the schedule drop to make everything official. And there's a couple of things that I took away. So, with it being Friday the 13th, let's get into the scariest part of our local NFL teams. Let's start with the Buffalo Bills, the one, the only true New York team. And yes, that's a little dig to you guys out there in Giants and Jets land. Buffalo Bills, now ranked from their 2021 opponents' win percentage. The Bills have the tied 12th win percentage that they have to face from last year with a 51.2 win percentage. Now, I don't think this nearly explains how tough the Buffalo Bills schedule truly is. Now, it's not anything near what the Kansas City Chiefs will have to go through, especially in the beginning of the Chiefs' schedule, where they face an incredible 8 opponents with a winning record to start their season. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be that tough, but you take a look at their opponents, especially on the road. The Bills have to go to LA, week 1, opening game, Thursday Night Football against the defending Super Bowl champs, the LA Rams. Now, what I love about this game is, first off, you get 2 powerhouses going at it week 1. Open up the season like that. Also, this is the matchup that I'm sure not just me, but a lot of people out there wanted as a Super Bowl matchup. And this is no knock on the Bengals, but if you get the Bills and the Rams in the Super Bowl, that was going to be an outstanding game. Not to say that what we got between the Rams and the Bengals wasn't an outstanding game, but we absolutely were drooling over the thought of the Rams and the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. But that's how you start off your season. Week 1 on the road against the defending Super Bowl champs who are going to be handing out some rings. And oh yeah, one of the players on your team, Von Miller, he's getting a Super Bowl ring from the Rams as well. Then you talk about some other tough games that they play on the road. Week 4, they travel to Baltimore to face the Ravens. That's always going to be a tough game. Week 6, at Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs. A rematch from what was essentially what we all thought was the quote-unquote undisputed AFC championship, where they lost by the flip of a coin. You also have at New England, and I know it's a divisional game, but Buffalo Bills, I know you have been better as of late against the New England Patriots, but there's still got to be something in the back of your head, traveling to face the New England Patriots, traveling to face Bill Belichick late in the season in December. You're going to have to face a tough opponent that, let's be honest, up until the last couple of years has absolutely dominated you. So that's always got to stick out in your mind. And then week 16, this isn't a tough team, but this is a tough place to play. Christmas Eve, traveling to Chicago, Windy City. It's going to be cold. It's going to be tough. Are you going to be able to do what you need to do in a cold weather situation? Now, I've seen Josh Allen absolutely thrive in cold weather situations. Still makes it a tough game, especially in a Windy City, even if you have a strong arm, Josh Allen. And then follow that up week 17 at the Cincinnati Bengals. A team that they should have, if not for a flip of a coin, if not for 13 seconds, have faced in the AFC Championship game. And that's just the road games. Then you talk about their opening stretch of the season, the first 8 weeks of the season, and you can include week 7 bye in there. They go at the Los Angeles Rams. That's a tough defending Super Bowl championship matchup. Home against the Tennessee Titans. They're a big physical team. Derrick Henry, the Bills have a tough time stopping big runners. They're going to have to be able to show the world what they're really made of week 2. then at the Miami Dolphins. Now, Miami Dolphins aren't anything to blink an eye at. They've absolutely loaded up on talent. They got a offensive mind in there. Tua Tagovailoa looks like he's finally healthy. His hips are moving fluently, throwing the deep ball. He's got Tyreek Hill. He's got Jalen Waddle. He's got a lot of talent there. That's going to be a tough matchup because they're going to be vying for a playoff spot this year. At the Baltimore Ravens, we talked about it. You're going against a former MVP in Lamar Jackson, finally going to be healthy. Now, did they lose Hollywood Brown? Absolutely. But was their offense predicated on that? No. And then they got more solid on the defensive side of the ball. They get the kid from the Saints, Marcus Williams, in the safety position. They go ahead and draft Kyle Hamilton. They get so much better on the defensive side of the ball, and that's what they're predicated on. Holding you defensively and running all over you offensively. Like we talked about, the Bills have had a hard time stopping the run. Now, not all the runs, but physical teams they've had a hard time stopping in the run game. And they're really going to be tested with the LA Rams and Cam Akers. And then you got the Tennessee Titans with their big back and Derrick Henry. And then you got the Baltimore Ravens, who are always physical. Then you go and play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, offensively, they may not be much. You got Mitchell Trubisky or Kenny Pickett, depending on who's starting there. But defensively, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a tough team. That's another team vying for a playoff spot. Week 6 at Kansas City. You all seen what happened in the playoffs. 13 seconds costed the Bills a golden opportunity to make it to the AFC Championship game. These are two Super Bowl caliber teams, and I would argue the two best teams in the AFC, hands down. Then you get your bye week, week 7. Follow that bye week up with hosting the Green Bay Packers. Anytime you got to face Aaron Rodgers, I don't care who the wide receivers are, Aaron Rodgers is going to elevate the players around him. That's going to be a tough matchup as well. And then you really start to get into a little easier part of your schedule. You're at the Jets, then you host the Minnesota Vikings, you host the Cleveland Browns. Who knows who's going to be starting there? Is it going to be Invisible Man with Baker Mayfield, or is it going to be Jacoby Brissett? Is it going to be Deshaun Watson? That remains to be seen. Then you go at Detroit, at New England, and then home against the Jets, home against the Dolphins, at Chicago, at Cincinnati, and then week 18, you host the New England Patriots. So the Vegas has the line over under at 10.5 wins. As tough as this schedule is, as hard as it is to look at the schedule and think, this team really has its work cut out for you, I'm going to go over with the Buffalo Bills. I think this is an 11, 12, 13 win team. Yeah, they got their work cut out for them early in the season. They got to win some of these games. They can't win them all. It'd be nice if they did, but they got to get in the win column early and often. And that way, when they get into after the bye week and they got some good games going on and some winnable games in the second half of the season, you got those wins early against tough opponents under your belt. Next, I want to get into the New York Jets. And the New York Jets, if you take a look at their strength of schedule, quote unquote, they're tied for 17th. And I'm not buying it because they have some tough, very tough road games. What it says in the standings last year is not indicative of what they actually have to face, especially on the road. They have to go at the Browns week 2, at the Steelers week 4, at Green Bay week 6, at Denver week 7, at Buffalo week 14, at Seattle week 17. Now, obviously, Seattle, we don't know who's going to start there. Is it going to be Geno Smith? We don't know. But when you're going to Seattle with the 12th man, that's going to be a tough game no matter what. And then, obviously, divisional game at Miami week 18. That's going to be a tough one. Their tough stretch. And this coincides with exactly the way that the Jets have struggled to get off on their right foot. The Jets have lost 12 straight September games dating back to September of 2018. Their first 9 games of the season is an absolute gauntlet. You host the Baltimore Ravens week 1. You're at the Cleveland Browns week 2. We don't know if Deshaun's playing or not, but if he is, that's going to be a heck of a game. And then you are at home. You host the defending AFC champions in the Cincinnati Bengals. Then you're at the Steelers. Then you're home versus Miami, at Green Bay, at Denver, home versus New England, who they've always struggled against, and home versus Buffalo. The first 9 games of the season are an absolute gauntlet. And for a team that's lost 12 straight September games dating back to 2018, this schedule certainly isn't doing them any favor, because they have three not just playoff teams, but 3 Super Bowl contenders in September. So good luck with that, New York Jets fans. But they set the over-under Vegas has at 6 games. Honestly, I'm going to take the cop out. I'm going to go push, because I think this is a team that can win 6, potentially 7 games. But I don't see them not winning at least 6 games. This is a 6-7 win team. I think they're headed in the right direction. I think they put a tremendous amount of talent around Zach Wilson. I think the pressure is starting to add up a little bit. We'll get into more of that on Sunday on who has the most pressure as an NFL quarterback on him this season to succeed, who's on the hot seat, and enough is enough. We'll break through that list on Sunday if you want to tune in Sunday at 11 a.m. for the love of sports. Last but not least, the New York Giants. And now I know Daniel Jones being their quarterback, they got to figure out what they got. The Giants doing a great job in the NFL draft, hitting on their 2 positions of need, defensive line, offensive line. You had Olise Ojulari last year lead the Giants in sacks. Then you bring on another potentially rookie that can make an immediate impact like Ogis did, and Kayvon Thibodeau. And then you bring on Evan Neal at the offensive line to really anchor that offensive line, with Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal both playing the tackle positions. And let's be honest, this Giants team, according to last year's win percentage from their opponents for this year, they're ranked in the bottom. They're 29th in strength of schedule. And they do have some tough opponents in the beginning half of their schedule, but I think ultimately this is a very favorable schedule for the Giants. So if Daniel Jones was to make that leap into a franchise quarterback, this is absolutely the season to do it. 1, because all eyes are on him, no 5th-year option picked up, but also because you have an offensive-minded head coach that really did wonders with Josh Allen. They brought in talent around him. Everybody's going to be healthy this year. Saquon's another year removed from that injury, that devastating injury that derailed his career a little bit. But this is the year for Daniel Jones, and he's got a very favorable schedule. Now, the first part of the schedule, you go at Tennessee, home versus Carolina, home versus the Cowboys, home versus the Bears, home versus Packers, well, home, quote unquote, and going to London to face the Packers. Then you're home after that to face the Baltimore Ravens, then at Jacksonville, at Seattle before your bye week in week 9. Really nice situation with the bye week. I know they didn't want their bye week after the London game, which is going to be tough because you're going against the Packers and the Ravens back to back, especially going to London. You might be a little jet lag coming back. That's going to be a tough situation. But if they can get over that hump, if they can go into these games where they really face some tough opponents, but winnable games, Tennessee Titans, at the Tennessee Titans, and then you're home against the Panthers, against the Cowboys, against the Bears, against the Ravens. 4 out of those first 6 games are at home. One's against Tennessee on the road, and then, quote unquote, at home in their London game against Green Bay. But really, 4 out of their 6 games are home games. This is a very favorable schedule. And then you got at Jacksonville, at Seattle, your bye week, and then you break off your bye week with another nice part of your schedule where you're hosting the Texans, hosting the Lions, and then, yeah, Thanksgiving, you're at the Dallas Cowboys. But then again, hosting the Washington Commanders, hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. And then the end of the schedule, yeah, you're going to have to go on the road a little bit, but you should have picked up some wins before that. You got a favorable schedule. Now you got to go on the road the last, 3 out of 4 weeks of the season. You go at Washington, at Minnesota, home versus Indianapolis, and then at Philadelphia. This is a very favorable schedule. And the Giants, Vegas has the Giants over under at 7. This is a tough one for me because it all predicates on how well Daniel Jones adapts to the new offensive system, if he can continue to avoid making those devastating mistakes that he's made early and often in his career. And if this team can stay healthy, I could totally see this team winning over 7 games, especially with a favorable schedule like that.